You're gonna watch this video on Doctor Doom creates his Fantastic Four, and then yeah, we will go ahead and go upstairs. But y'all on YouTube, I'll be able to see y'all on Twitch, so make sure you come over to the Twitch.
Recreates the
Name's right
Fantastic
above my
Four,
head.
although admittedly, it's not the exact Fantastic Four. It's really more the UFOs that he created, which was a group from the Incredible Hulk issue number 254 back in the main Marvel Universe, and basically was an attempt to duplicate the Fantastic Four. But you guys will see what I'm talking about as we get through this video. Now, this is told from 3 different perspectives, and it can be a little jarring, but fortunately, you have me to make sense out of it. So these 3 perspectives are Doctor Doom talking to Tony Stark. It's Doctor Doom basically leading something called Project 4, and then it's Doctor Doom reflecting on his own past. And so if you guys recall the video that we did, where we got the origin of Doctor Doom, that he was Reed Richards, he was supposed to be a leader of the Fantastic Four, the Makers showed up in this universe, and then basically twisted him, broke his mind, and turned him into Doom. That what he does is reflecting on his own past. We get that little bit of an origin here, right? Where the question's asked of the class,
but make sure y'all come on the Twitch and vibe out there.
Can anyone
I'll
tell
be able to see,
of course,
hear,
Reed
and chat
Richards
to y'all
raises
there.
his hand. And that's
Can't
when you
really see y'all on
switch
Twitch.
to the
I mean,
Project
on
4
YouTube.
perspective,
So make
where
sure
he
y'all
simply
come
just
and say
says
what's
a
up on
prison.
Twitch.
Time closes in on us like the walls of a cell. If you are to make it past those walls, escape this prison that you were born into, you'll have to think in 4 dimensions. I am Doom, and I will be your teacher. And then you switch to the next perspective, the one that's basically happening in the here and now, which is where he's talking to Tony. And he just asks him, right, like, do you have time to speak? Now, one of the things to know about Tony Stark in the new Ultimate Universe is that if you guys recall the video that we did, where basically the Ultimates were tricked into arriving at a facility where they thought they were liberating a bunch of captured superheroes, only to discover they had been lured into a trap and were ambushed by the Incredible Hulk and his immortal weapons. Tony Stark was basically dead, right? Like, he was an inch away from dying, and Doctor Doom saved him, but Tony Stark realized him going out into the conflict like that is a massive danger, because while the Ultimates is designed to kind of be self-sufficient to a degree, it kind of requires Tony Stark to at least operate as the brains behind the operation. And so without Tony Stark, it would seemingly all fall apart, to say nothing of the fact that he has a very personal motivation in organizing a team that's designed to basically destroy the Maker. And so in response to that, he created what you and I might call his own version of Doombots, right? Basically beings that go out there and fight in his stead. And so again, that's when you jump to this little bit of a flashback. Now, the cool thing about the flashback moments, I don't necessarily say that they're necessary, but they are awesome because they show us how Reed's life could have unfolded had the Maker not shown up, or at least allows us to imagine. Case in point, when he's hanging out with Ben Grimm, right? That Ben is just kind of like, look, you're 14, Reed. And Reed's like, look, I'm a doctor. I have 3 PhDs. I think I can handle a little bit of alcohol. And Ben's just like, all right, well, then here you go. And what happens? Reed starts puking his guts up because he can't handle his liquor. Right? And Ben is just like, you'll be all right, right? I got you, Dr. Richards. Like, I'm sure your PhDs will come in handy now, right? It's little moments like that that are so cool and they're so personal, right? For the way that Doom is shown in this reality. And so jumping back to Project 4, right, that where he talks about being their teacher, one of the students raises their hand. And they say, how is this different from the Avengers program that we were already selected for? And the response of Doom, right, is number 1, he doesn't want to be addressed as Dr. Doom, simply just as Doom. And then he says, this project predates the Avengers program. Development was slow to start. It is the result of years of research into cosmic energy and a new theory of superhuman organization. And that's why he says, welcome to Project 4. And so when you jump to the conversation between himself and Tony, Tony asks him, is your question about Project 4? And Doom simply says, no, right? He says, Project 4 continues on pace. I recently discovered something, potentially vital information, and I felt that you had to know. Of course, again, Tony kind of being distracted here. But you get how this is going, right? The pattern that it's following. Flashback, Project 4, Tony Stark. So it's kind of cool, right? Then it just goes in this pattern over and over and over again. That's why I say it starts off a little jarring, but then once you get the rhythm of it, it all makes sense. So when you jump to the flashback, it's Reed Richards talking to Susan Storm. And he says, cosmic rays are the leftover energies of the Big Bang, the universal creative impulse made manifest. If we could harness this power, we could do anything. It's not a stretch to say that we could put an end to disease, scarcity, even death, Susan. And so that's kind of how it all started, right? That it wasn't really the Fantastic Four's desire to go into space and explore cosmic rays because they were essentially a part of the space race and so on and so forth. It was trying to find a way to make the world better. How can we use cosmic energies to usher humanity into its next stage, to turn Earth into a utopia? But as we also know, because of the fact that the Maker had screwed with the calculations of Reed Richards and basically thrown everything off, essentially destroying the mission, that when the Fantastic Four went into space and they were hit with cosmic rays, Johnny Storm burst into flames, he died. Ben Grimm was seemingly pushed off of a mountaintop and he was killed because he hadn't really been transformed into the Thing. And then Susan Storm, she died of cancer. And that's the craziness of it all, is because like that, Reed Richards literally watched his entire life fall apart. And so that's when you switch to Project 4. And he says, thanks to Miss Chavez, each of you will be bombarded with cosmic rays in short controlled bursts. The levels must be exactly right. Too much or too little destroys human cells. Death is creative and painful. And he says, my analysis says you are all likely to survive exposure, but not certainly. And I am not the Maker. Do you understand what that means? You have a choice. Each of you has a choice here. You can walk away, which was not a choice given to Reed, right? And that's one of the crazy things, is because when you switch over to his conversation with Tony, right, like Dr. Doom simply says, I am Doom, and that is all I will ever be. But before I was Doom, my name was Reed Richards. And so jumping back to this flashback right, between himself and Susan,
if
that
you
it
said
shows
something,
that a romance was blossoming, love was beginning to form between the two of them, right? That Susan was falling in love with Reed's intelligence, his personality, his desire to make the world better, and Reed was falling in love with Susan because who wouldn't?
If I drink toilet water,
right?
yeah,
And so that's when you get to Project 4, and he says you'll be formed into surgical teams, small, scientifically balanced units.
That's the only way I can see y'all. But
thanks to the Immortus
make sure y'all come on the Twitch and say what's up.
Relative years to train.
$5 to drink toilet water.
A time
You're bugging.
And so one of the things we end up learning here is that in the origin story that we saw for Doom, he was constantly experimenting on rats, trying to basically bestow on them.
Come on Twitch, and then I'll be able to see you say something.
The hope being that he could somehow
can't really see you say anything on YouTube.
Presumably,
see you say shit on Twitch,
taking the Immortus engine, jumping back into the past, figuring
drinking
out
no toilet water.
Changed,
what's wrong with you?
That, and then making sure that they gain the powers that they were supposed to get. That seemed to be his modus operandi, but he's learned something. He says in another universe, Reed Richards is Mr. Fantastic, leader of the Fantastic Four,
the stream, make sure
a great hero, of course referring to Earth 616.
Yo, what's up?
Tony tells him, right, you
whoever said yo, I think I seen you say yo. I can kind of see it on
Mr.
OBS.
Fantastic kind of sounds like a piece of
make
work
sure you come on
if
Twitch,
like that.
right above the head. Those of
yet
y'all on Twitch, I'll be able to chat with you more. We'll be able to interact more as well.
Where Ben says like you're a real piece
Appreciate
of
you
work.
stopping
you know
by.
That, Reed? And he's like, I do. That's
subscribe, join the fam. We're trying to hit 200 by the end of this year. We got 180.
Which is kind of a funny thing. But notice this. Throughout these flashbacks, when Doom is looking back at his own story, there's this kind of silhouette of white individuals that are standing around him, right? They don't really have any physical form per se, outside of just a shape of a person, and that's basically it. That will become important, and it will be a talking point here in a little while. But when you jump to Project 4, it's Doom training them, right? And he says, change shape and density.
See,
your
Doom,
new forms can interact
that's wow.
in
that's his Fantastic Four. He's
ways.
training them.
Human circuits powered by cosmic energy. Any four of you could neutralize a mid-size air force. And that's where the recognition is kind of like Doom talking about them like there's some kind of a weapon. But notice this. It's kind of the nature of UFOs, like vapor, different things like that. Basically, in
Doom's ridiculous for
the Fantastic Four.
Yeah, he's trying to recreate his own team.
And so that's when you jump to the conversation
the
between Doom and Tony, where Doom talks about the information
what he
that
said
he's
to
learned.
Miles,
and he says, listen to me, Tony, right? Reed Richards, in our universe, that man became Doom. Essentially, he became me. In another, he became Mr. Fantastic. But in a third reality, he became the Maker. It was me, right? It was me all along.
Yeah, it was
and
him
that's
all
what
along.
Doom didn't know. Doom didn't know who the Maker was. The Maker never revealed his identity to Reed Richards. And the
he didn't say that he was him.
When he was screwing him up after the failure of the Fantastic Four and turning him into Doom. And so while the flashback shows him visiting the graves of Susan and Johnny, and where the Project 4 perspective just shows the group training and kind of failing a little bit, right? The conversation with Tony has
because he is good in this universe, but he's still
in eternity. I wondered why the torture, the cruelty, the glee. Why was it me? It could have been anybody. Why did he torture me? And it just kind of has this
'Cause you're
flashback
him.
moment where the
That's
Maker
why he did it.
is
You're him.
literally torturing Reed Richards and laughing about it
he's
the
gonna
entire
torture you.
time. He's finding excitement and joy in all of this. And that's the important thing, right? That Dr. Doom had for the longest time felt incomplete, that something was missing from his own mind. And when he read the Maker's files, he
And if y'all are
finally saw
enjoying
the
the stream,
shape
make sure
of
y'all
his
come on the
absence.
Twitch right
He
above the
realized
head.
what it
Dose
was
of Diallo on
that he was
Twitch.
missing. And so that's why he tells Tony, he says, I have seen the enemy, and it is me. Under the circumstances, I am stepping back. And Tony asks, like, what are you talking about? Right? Like, what do you mean you're stepping back? And in reality, it's basically Dr. Doom walking away. Because when you get to this flashback with the Maker, right, Reed just kind of recognizes and believes that for a moment, he was dead. And the Maker says, you were, right? We took a step back in time. And Reed just says, right, it was over. I died. Like, it was finally over. The torture was done. And the Maker tells him, it's never over, Doom. Not for you, right? You will die 1,000,000 times if it amuses me. You'll die until it doesn't. But do not worry. I am working on something much worse than death.
That's
and
crazy.
that's the crazy thing about it, right? This
That's
revelation
crazy.
is huge. Because all we had known up to this point was that the Maker had shown up in this universe. He had screwed with the calculations of Reed Richards in this universe, basically sabotaged the mission of the
And made
Fantastic
him
Four.
Doom.
Everybody but Reed died, and then he started torturing Reed. But it seemed more like mental conditioning, right? Telling him
To get
everywhere
him to
you
turn
go,
into
Doom
Doom.
follows, right? Forcing him to say that his name is Doom, performing some kind of brain surgery on him. And for the most part,
But
it was just kind
why?
of assumed that it was part of the mental reconditioning, although we actually
Why,
find out it
though?
was far more nefarious than that. But now we're learning that what the Maker was doing is he was systematically killing Reed and then rewinding time so that Reed would remember dying but would always come back
As
remembering
Doom.
how he died. It's psychological torture in the worst way. It's absolutely insane.
That's
And one of the
crazy.
most depraved things that I think I've ever heard of a villain doing. And so that's why when he's talking to Tony, he says, don't you understand? Every plan, every insight, every breakthrough, he had them first. Any hope we had just went up in flames. All of our preparation, all we've sacrificed, all compromised because I am compromised. And Tony simply just says, yeah, but like, I already knew that. And that's when you jump back to the surgery that the Maker was performing on Doom. And he says, my God, the filth in here. How can you stand the inside of your own head? I can hardly see.
That's
and then he
crazy.
says, there it is, right? The thing
Why is he
was
doing
looking
that?
for. He says,
He's
I
really
recognize
trying
it
to make him
anywhere,
Doom.
though it is
It's
quite a
his
bit
brain.
smaller than mine. And so that's when you jump
That's
into Project 4,
crazy.
and you actually have Doom, who almost kind of seems a little heartless in doing so, subjecting these various members to the experiments, right? To exposure to cosmic rays, even after they chose to do it. And where one of them is begging for him to stop, he simply just says, just a moment longer. And the irony of this is not lost, right? Certainly not on you and definitely not on me, right? That the reality here is the Maker was doing what he was doing to Doom because it brought him satisfaction.
Yeah,
Doom
he
is
wanted
doing what
to-
he's doing because he
wanted
believes
to
that
see
the ends
that-
justify the
see
means.
Doom get
despite the
tortured,
fact that he gave them a choice.
even
And
though
so it
that's
shows
him.
the fact that while
That's
he truly
crazy.
believes that he is in some capacity the Maker, because the Maker's just an alternate version of himself, the reality is that he's not. That yes,
No.
he is inflicting pain on someone, but he's inflicting pain on a person who accepted that pain and
Yes.
understood what it was that they were getting into. And so that's when you switch back to the conversation between Doom and Tony, because Doom asks him, how did you know? Right? And Tony says, from this conversation, I saw it months ago, though I really do forget how it ends. And Doom asks him, right, like, you used time travel, you saw this, and you said nothing. And Tony's just like, I mean, I guess I didn't? Well, then, it really just didn't seem relevant. I mean, what does it change?
Yeah.
Right? And that's where you
changes
jump
nothing,
back
really.
to the Maker surgery on Doom. And
Just
you find
changes
out
him
what
be
it
Doom.
was that he removed. Because he's holding this little bit of brain in his hand. And he says, now there's a change for the
Well,
better.
him
The
being
extraction was a complete
Mr.
success.
Fantastic.
This little bit of gray matter was the troublemaker. And that's where Doom is just like, what are you talking about, right? What did you take from me? Not only that, while we do end up learning that over time, basically years,
Or to
that's
make him
passing,
smart.
that
I don't
the
know,
youth
that's
or this
crazy.
new
Took something
Fantastic
from
Four
him.
team become far more capable as time goes on. That in the conversation between Doom and Tony, Doom says it changes everything, right? He knows me better than I know myself. It's hopeless, Tony.
'Cause he's
it
you.
always was. I was a fool to think otherwise, even for a moment. And that's where the Maker doctor explains what it was that he took from Doom. He says, you know that feeling that you get when you unlock some secret of the universe, formulate a fundamental law, or discover a new dimension? That profound euphoric moment when everything suddenly clicks into place. It's the best feeling in the world, isn't it, right? You can be honest with me, Doom. I already know how you feel. Not even love comes close, at least not for you. You love science above all else. And he says, that's what I cut out, that feeling, or at least your capacity to feel it anyway. And so Doom can no longer be excited over scientific achievement, that there's no real drive for him to push the envelope and be anything better than what he is.
Yes,
and in fact,
keeping
where
him
Doom
stuck.
and the UFOs do successfully manage to
crazy.
sabotage one of the Maker's facilities, that in his conversation with Tony, he says one cannot escape one's Maker any more than one can escape one's self. And when the Maker is talking to Doom, he says, be happy I left you your genius. I was not so generous with others. I find myself in need of an assistant, Doom. You're going to help make a better world. And Doom just simply says, my name is Reed Richards,
Yes.
and I will never assist you.
Yes.
And so that went into the experiment of the Maker, where he basically psychologically
away.
conditioned Reed to believe he's Doom.
That's
changing
crazy.
his physical appearance, the whole 9 yards. It's why he wears the mask. So it's kind of the beginning, right? The set of events that lead up to that origin, as twisted as it is. And so that's where he seemingly addresses Tony Stark, Project 4, all of these guys. And he says, I will make a better world in this one's place, even if there is no place for me in it. And so where Doom is talking to Tony, Tony simply says, I have to go, right? No matter how many of myself that I create, it never seems to be enough. Those teenagers killed me, right? Now, I cannot force you to stay, Doom. The Ultimates is, by design, a choice. I'll simply just say that this might not work with you, but it definitely does not work without you. And so again, that's when you jump to another flashback with the Maker, where once the surgery is complete, Doom is basically turned into an assistant, right? Just doing grunt work around the office, particularly cleaning the entire lab, which seems to stretch on into infinity. And in fact, with regards to these white silhouettes that Dr. Doom sees kind of following him around, he actually addresses them here, right, in this moment. And he says, I know what you think, right? You think that I'm giving up on you, on us. And that's when Hank Pym shows up to visit him, because this conversation between the two of them becomes something incredible. And honestly, I don't think I've ever loved Hank Pym in the Ultimate Universe more than I love him in this part of the story, because where he talks to the silhouettes, at least Doom does, right? And he tells them, right, I'm trying, I swear, right, I would do anything to be with you. The whole idea behind them and why Doom sees them comes through his conversation with Hank Pym. Because at that point, the narrative starts to shift between Dr. Doom addressing his silhouettes and Dr. Doom talking to Hank Pym. Of course, the conversation with Pym being in the here and now. But when he's talking to the silhouettes, he says, we all have to face reality. All my efforts to break through the barrier around the past and prevent your and our circumstances, all my efforts have failed. And now the Immortus engine is the only thing keeping Tony Stark alive. Even if I could build another in time, Steve Rogers was right. I would only continue to fail. And while you do get this brief moment where he's experimenting with the cosmic radiation machine, right? And there's this kind of warning, maximum safe threshold exceeded, exposure fatal. That's going to become important here, right? Because when he starts talking to Pym, he says, I am considering leaving the Ultimates. And Pym just says, right, I consider that about 100 times a day. And Doom simply says, right, I am not stable and I cannot be trusted. And so Hank Pym says, I had pretty much the same thought
who he really
back
is,
when I had my little
He
revelation.
just knows that he's
and he says, you know what Captain America told me? He says,
Richards.
his failures are not your failures. His sins are not yours. And of course, Steve Rogers was right as always. And he says, you decide who you're going to be, Doom. And so in this conversation with these silhouettes, right, he says, yes, I have failed, but I have not given up, right? Given up on the idea of being with them. He says, there is another way for us to be together, all of us. I just need time. And so jumping back to this conversation with Pym, he says the latest revelation of basically the Maker being an
make sure y'all come on Twitch. Those of y'all on Twitch right above my head.
He says, I am not well.
Talk to me and
there are
chat to your
times
boy.
that I feel figures
because I ain't got my second
looking
monitor
over my
downstairs.
shoulder like ghosts.
I'll be upstairs
not
in a minute,
presences or absences, the shape of loss. I feel them now. And so Hank Pym asks him, right? He's like, ghosts. I see those sometimes. Only for me, it's the guy I was before the accident. I don't think that they ever really go away. I think they just kind of follow you around forever. It used to really bother me, this thing that I couldn't shake. And then one day, I had this thought, and I felt better ever since. Just because you're broken does not mean that you need to be fixed, which is a beautiful statement and incredibly profound. Because I think that oftentimes, especially for someone like Dr. Doom, he latches on to the person he used to be, right? I used to be Reed Richards, and my life could have looked like this. And because that's the thing that he's always trying to get to, anything other than that is abnormal, broken, twisted, and it needs to be fixed. But who's to say that it does? We as human beings are a constant work in progress. And so just because right now, you're not who you were 10 years ago, and you're not who you imagined yourself becoming, does not mean that you're some broken version of yourself. It simply just means you're not what you imagine. And that's it. That's really all it is. And so with Project 4 essentially complete, right, weeding out everybody that he may simply say are the failures, right, the ones that didn't make the cut, we're finally down to the final 4 members of the team, which he refers to as the Fantastic Force, which is an awesome throwback to the Psylord days. For those of you guys who don't know, there was basically a point in time when Nathaniel Richards, the father of Reed, ended up going back in time and forming a new team to deal with Hyperstorm, the son of Franklin Richards, by bringing Franklin as a teenager onto a team called Fantastic Force, and in fact, in a lot of ways, taught Franklin how to use his powers. So it's cool to take that concept and adapt it to the new Ultimate Universe. But nonetheless, switching over to the conversation between Hank Pym and Dr. Doom, that Hank Pym is just kind of like, hey, like, the mice stopped dying. And Doom just simply says yes. And so Hank asks him, right, what are you going to do with them now? And he simply just says, when the mice stop dying, the Fantastic Four will return. And that's where you get to the saddest part of this entire story. Because in addressing these ghosts, the specters of the Fantastic Four, he says, I will have my revenge on the Maker, and then I will come to you, my family. In death, we will be together again. We will be free. Doom intends to end himself. Once the Maker's defeated, he intends to bring his own existence to an end and join his Fantastic Four in death, because he knows that his family can never come back. It's the only way he can be with them. And so it's so sad to see him resigning himself to this fate, as opposed to living a life in honor of the Fantastic Four. It's a very sad story, kind of a tearjerker. So, with that being said, guys, we're going to bring this to an end. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, drop a like. Thank you guys for watching, and I will catch you all later. Peace.
All right, y'all. Next video. And it will be... trying to think. How long is this one? 28 minutes, 30-minute video. Almost done with that. 22 minutes. We'll finish this one.
Right, you guys know Lois. I know Lois. We all love Lois Lane, right? She is the first lady of comics, right? There's no arguing that. That's just the way that it is. And so Superman is literally trying to bargain with her to a degree and explaining what's going on, right? He says, it's the only way. And even Supergirl says, I know that all of this sounds crazy, Lois, right? A fight tournament to save the world is kind of nuts. And I can't believe that I'm gonna say this, but after what the Time Trappers showed us about the future,
it's the only way.
I believe him. And that's the thing, right? Lois Lane's job, both as a partner to Superman as well as a reporter, is to ask the questions he wouldn't think to ask, and to confront him about things that he may deem to be uncomfortable. And that's why she says, Old Man Doomsday, right? The guy who killed you, you trust him. She's like, this is what he wanted all along, for all of you to go along with some insane plan that he had. But here's the thing, it's not just the words of like some crazed ass villain who killed Superman once upon a time, right? Who's just showing up with these words of caution, right? You know, the world's going to end. You guys have to fight in this tournament. You have to believe me, right? That's not what's going on at all. He showed them what's happening. He showed them what awaits them. And so with their own eyes and seeing all this evidence, they're confronted with the reality of it. And so Superman simply says, John Henry Irons and Steelworks are working with Mercy to put together evacuation shuttles. John is already with the Titans to help coordinate the major population centers. And the Justice League is training. And so Lois hears all of this and she's like, you're planning to lose. And the response of Superman is, I'm not planning to lose. Right? I'm just accepting the fact that we could. And it's his job to do that.
Damn.
Right? I mean, sure, it would be nice to be in a world where Superman will just save everyone from every every threat ever, no matter how dangerous that threat may be. But the reality is that this is not just Superman and Lois anymore, right? It's Superman, Lois, their child, it's a whole world. And so Superman is like, we could lose, right?
Yeah.
And if I do, I need to make sure that you are safe. And the response of Lois is, it can't just be me. You cannot strictly focus on keeping me safe. And that's where Superman says, I know. We're going to try to save everybody. Literally every single human being on the face of the earth. And so in that moment, in probably the least opportune moment ever, or maybe the most opportune, Jonathan and Martha show up. Right? His parents just appear for a surprise visit. Right? And Superman's kind of like, you know, it's great you're here because I can basically tell you that we're evacuating the world. And don't worry, you guys are 100% on the list. Right? And so, of course, the goal is to spend a little bit of time together. Not really because he's saying goodbye. He's just basically accepting the fact that he may very well lose here. And in fact, that's what he talks to Lois about when they're kind of spending time together, is he says, I'm bringing my Dawn's Day knuckles, which of course we saw in the actual DCKO one-shot comic. And Lois tells him, right, you know, don't make jokes. She says, I'm worried, Clark. This is exactly what Time Trapper warned us about. Now, that's true. One of the things that happened when Time Trapper showed up previously, right, he told them, yes, I am Doomsday, but I have survived into the far-flung future, and as I've died, I've grown. And as I've grown, I've learned that there's far more to this existence than just trying to kill everything that exists out there. And of course, he's also grown smarter as time went on. And the idea was that he was trying to get Superman and Lois to engage in a series of actions, right, campaigns on his behalf, which they refused to do. The warning he gave them is that if you take this path of denying my advice, ignoring me, and going down your own road, then you have to know there will be consequences. The things that will come for you will break you on the most personal level, will destroy everything you know and love. This is that warning coming to fruition, and it's only the beginning, right? And so that's where Superman simply says, Mercy is taking care of the Doomsday and Radiant bottled city, taking it with her. Maybe she can use them to navigate Doomsday's past. And again, Lois says, I still don't trust Mercy, right? I'll keep an eye on her, but I just wish there was another way, something that did not involve Time Trapper or Doomsday. And so Superman simply says,
if y'all are enjoying the stream on YouTube, make sure y'all come on Twitch, right
if they
above
had
my head.
any knowledge of Darkseid or this King Omega in Krypton's archives. And he simply says, he said they had no record of it because knowledge from outside the planet Krypton was illegal. And so when Lois hears that, it sets off a few alarms, right? She's like, you know, of course he said that, right? And Superman's like, you know, I can do this, right? This tournament, I can do this whole thing, but not if I'm preoccupied with everyone here. Not if there's a part of me that's focused on anything else. I need to be 100% focused on that and nothing else. And the only way to do that is to make sure that you and everyone here are in a safe place. And so once the evacuations start, right, Mercy's kind of taking a head count. There's millions of people, right, on these ships that are just being evacuated from this whole place. It's absolutely insane. But then she realizes Lois's ship is gone, right? That Lois is like, you know, I'll be back as soon as I possibly can, and I will be there in time for takeoff. But understand, there's something that I need to look into first. Lois travels to the Fortress of Solitude. And this is where things get really, really cool. Because at that point, Jor-El addresses her, right? The bride of Kal-El. And Lois, as you guys know, pulls no punches, right? And she just says, here's the thing, Jor-El, right? You don't know this, but you and I spent some time together in space. We had a little adventure, you and me and John. And you know what I learned on that trip? You cannot be trusted. You or some crappy simulation version of you. Of course, referring to Brian Michael Bendis' run on Superman, which we all just like to pretend didn't really happen. And she says, I'm not here to ask for your help. I'm here to interview you. So tell me about Darkseid and the Heart of Apocalypse. And he just simply says, there is no knowledge of Darkseid or of the Heart. She's like, yeah, I know, right? In your archives. But when you're a reporter, you learn that finding out what is missing can help lead you in the right direction. Certain bits of information were illegal on Krypton, I get it. But where are the records on what was illegal? You had to know what was illegal in order to forbid it. And that's where he just kind of repeats, right? There is no record. And she's like, your son right now is in the fight of his life, frankly doing what you couldn't do, saving his world. You must know something, anything about the Heart of Apocalypse. You have to help him. And where he keeps on saying, right, there is no knowledge in our records, his statement finally shifts. And he says, there is no knowledge in my records. And then in that moment, the personality of Jor-El shifts off and the personality of Lara takes over. And at that point, she just says, when we sent Kal-El away, we hoped that he would find happiness, safety, and of course build a gigantic harem. And she says, I hoped that we would find you. And where Lois is kind of flabbergasted by this, right? She's like, you know, we've never talked before. I've never had a conversation with you. The reality here is that it's a conversation between a mother and the wife of her son. So that is not a conversation that is ever taken lightly. And that's where Laura says, your questions triggered my program, my own memories tucked away within the fortress. My role on Krypton was as a historian. I worked on crafting the archives that were included in my son's shuttle. And while there are no records of a dark side, all the worlds Krypton encountered had a legend about a destroyer, the end of all things, a dark Omega presence that wanted to control all, the final god. Our scientists hope to create a champion to stop him, to change the future. But for there to be an Omega, there must be an Alpha. And I believe Doomsday was created to be that. His powers of recreation and rebirth are in direct opposition to everything the King Omega is. This is a huge thing in this comic because Joshua Williamson just retconned the entire reason for Doomsday's creation in DC Comics. And I gotta be honest with you guys, man, I love it. I love the idea that Doomsday was created to basically be the antithesis to Darkseid, and that if his true purpose was to destroy Darkseid, right, to be that everything that Darkseid stands against, then him killing Superman, the fight with Superman, demolishing the Justice League and Bloodwind back in the early 1990s, it was just kind of a bump along the way. Training wheels to becoming the thing that he was going to be. Now, those are some significant training wheels, and those are some big humps he ran over. But at the end of the day, I love the idea that Doomsday's role, his reason for creation, was to be the antithesis of Darkseid. It's phenomenal. I love that. Like, let me know down in the comments if you guys dig it, right? But I love that idea. And so that's where Lois just says Doomsday is the Alpha. Clark has to know, right? But he needs to talk to you. And how the hell am I going to get to him? But in the middle of all that, somebody comes crashing down into the Fortress of Solitude. Of course, Lois goes running to him, you know, Clark, you know, are you okay? Only to find out it's not Clark. It's Superboy Prime. Right? It's Superboy Prime. He's arrived back here in the main DC universe. And she's just like, Superman said that you were stuck in the future. And he's like, I was, right? I managed to hold Darkseid's army off, but they were too many, right? Of course, referring to the Absolute Universe's Legion of Superheroes. And he just says, I know what happened to the rest of the legions, all of the legions, but I have to tell Superman now. And the response of Lois, like, do you not know, right? Like, I need to talk to him too, but he's gone and I have no way to reach him. But in the midst of that, there's a massive explosion that's set off when Dirk shows up, right? Starboy. Now, here's the crazy thing about Dirk. Here's the kicker about Dirk. Dirk is incredibly powerful, manipulating solar energy. But the chief ability of his manipulation powers is solar manipulation, specifically yellow sun radiation. And so when he goes on the attack, he says, nice try, Superboy, but we know Superman and the Justice League are trying to capture the heart of Apocalypse. Darkseid is coming, and we, the Absolute Universe, have already won. They left you to die. And that's where Superboy Prime just says, well, then I'll stop you, son boy. Right? And he's just like, how? Right? You're all alone. No one can save you. And that's where Prime says, there was something that you forgot about. And Dirk is just like, what's that? And Superboy Prime just says, last page reveal, right? Because he knows he's in a comic book. And Dirk is like, what are you smiling about? And then at that point, you have Lois floating through the air. And Prime just says, you blasted her with your sun powers, yellow sun radiation. 6 issues ago, she lost her powers, right? Well, didn't really lose them. They basically just went dormant. She burned them out. And now she's got them back. Superwoman has returned, ladies and gentlemen. And I gotta tell you, I love it because I feel like Superwoman was one of the greatest things in the Superman comic that just never got explored. Thank you, Joshua Williamson. With that being said, guys, we're going to bring this video to an end. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. If you did, drop a like. Make sure you guys hit the subscribe button, and I will catch you all later. Peace.
Well, with that, y'all, we are going to go ahead and go back and play the game upstairs, but I will roll up for that. So I'm going to roll up, and then we'll start the game. So we're going to watch a little video, and then we'll play the game and chill on that. So I'll be right back, y'all.
Kann nur schwimmen, mich ergeben und darf nur taumend mich erheben. Das Band, es schnitt ins Fleisch so sehr. Die Zeit war reif, es rief das Meer. Versucht, gekämpft, es glückte nicht. Wollt Fesseln sprengen, doch beugt ich mich. Will nicht sehen, was nun ist. Ein Tritt der Wahrheit ins Gesicht. Der Donnergott, dem ich einst schwor, flüstert eiskalt in mein Ohr. Die Zeit ist reif. Ein Sturm zieht auf. Die Zeit ist reif. Wir geben niemals auf. Die Zeit ist reif. Ein Sturm zieht auf. Die Zeit ist reif. Wir geben niemals auf. Du bist nur Mensch und kannst nicht wählen. Der Grund bist du, so lass dich quälen. Um zu ändern ist es nicht, was bereits geschehen ist. Gefesselt und verbannt im Sog. Niemand hört den Hilfeschrei. Nun schießt das Wasser in dein Boot. Das weite Meer wird nicht verzeihen. Will nicht sehen, was nun ist. Ein Tritt der Wahrheit ins Gesicht. Der Donnergott, dem ich einst schwor, flüstert eiskalt in mein Ohr. Die Zeit ist reif. Ein Sturm zieht auf. Die Zeit ist reif. Wir geben niemals auf. Die Zeit ist reif. Ein Sturm zieht auf. Die Zeit ist reif. Wir geben niemals auf.
Upstairs. We haven't played the game yet. So I guess we can watch Darkseid Destroys the Flash. And then, yeah, we'll go ahead and play the game.
What's going on, Rob? This is Guys, and we are back
going
with
on, Rob? This is
DC.
Guys.
And if you've never read anything about Impulse, Bart Allen, the grandson of the Flash, Barry Allen, and a descendant of Eobard Thawne, if you can believe that, if you've never read anything about him in DC Comics, you're going to learn about him here. and you are going to love him. So, here's the thing. This, much like the Superman comic, basically opens up right before the events of DCKO, when everybody's kind of getting an explanation of what's going on. But unlike Superman, where it's all kind of dialogue and Superman asking questions about the nature of Darkseid and so on and so forth, that in fact this has an amazing moment where Darkseid humbles both Wally West and Impulse. So here's the thing. This initially kicks off with Bart and Irene, also known as Iris. Basically, you can call her either one, but the daughter of Wally West, essentially getting ready to go on a joyride, right? And I will give you guys a crash course on Bart Allen here in a little bit. I'm not going to leave you guys hanging, but I felt this was cool because you'd get a good understanding of his character. Because the funny thing about this is Irene asks him, right, like, are you sure we should be going on a joyride like this? And Bart's just like, nope, I have no idea if we should do this at all. But I do know it sounds fun, and that's really the only thing that matters. Right? Because at that point, Irene is just like, and here I thought Jai was having all the fun back in Keystone City, right? Jai, of course, being the other child of Wally West. And then she just asks, right, like, aren't you supposed to ask for the keys before you borrow the car? And Bart's like, look, here's the thing. Number one, this is not a car, right? Cars are slow, and cars are boring. This is a JL657 Starjet, right? It's so fast that we'll be back before we're gone. And then she's like, do you even know how to fly this thing? And he was like, I have no idea how to even drive a car, let alone drive a spaceship. But what's the worst that can happen, right? Piloting an interstellar craft through the vacuum of space. What's the worst that could possibly happen here? But he says, number two, right? Wally's kept you so cooped up on the watchtower that I figured you deserved at least a little bit of fresh air. And of course, Irene's like, I mean, there's no air in space. And Bart's like, I mean, you get what I'm saying. But here's the thing, right? We've had enough gib-gab and enough talking, right? Let's put this thing to the test, right? Let's get these Speed Force afterburners going, and let's see what this thing can do, right? Full on Fast and the Furious. But you know what? Somebody didn't want the kids to be able to enjoy that joyride. So you know what they did? They shut down the car. They shut down the car, and it was Superman. You would think that if anybody out there would understand the need for kids to go on a joyride, it would be Superman. But being the party pooper that he is, he basically just tells them, look, right, like Impulse, Irene, not right now. Like, we have a Justice League meeting. And so at that point, you switch over to Max Mercury and Bart. Now, time for this little bit of a crash course, right? In all seriousness. So Bart Allen was really and truly introduced in the Flash Volume 2, issues 92 and 93. Technically, he does predate that as a cameo, but 92 and 93 is where you really get the origin of his character. And the long and short of Bart is that unlike Wally West or Barry Allen or even Max Mercury or Jay Garrick, who basically attained their powers through some kind of external means, which essentially allowed them to tap into the Speed Force, Bart Allen was born with the ability to tap into the Speed Force. And in fact, he couldn't turn it off. And so in Flash Volume 2, number 92, Iris approaches Wally and is like, my grandson's dying, right? Due to his inability to shut off his super speed. His body's aging at an accelerated rate, and within a week, he'll quite literally die of old age. And so what was going on at that point was that because his body was outpacing his mind, he was hooked up to basically a virtual reality simulation. The intention was to try to get him to a place where, number one, he would be comfortable and wouldn't realize that his body was dying of old age. But number two, the hope was that they could get his mind to catch up with his body. Ultimately, it didn't work. And so what ends up happening is that Bart Allen is brought back to the 21st century. And in fact, the first time he meets Wally, he attacks him. He immediately attacks Wally West. Now, a thing to understand here, at the time that Mark Waid was writing these stories, was that Mark Waid was elevating Wally and basically making him kind of like the foremost speedster. Not really disrespecting the memory of Barry, but simply moving Wally in the direction of a person who would know more about the Speed Force than anybody else, potentially the fastest speedster to ever exist because he could mainline the Speed Force. And so the introduction of Bart kind of served to complement that, but also served the purpose of giving Wally his own kind of like Kid Flash to a degree. I don't know that I would specifically use that name, but the concept was still basically the same. And so what ends up happening is that Wally tries to take Bart under his ring. The issue with this is that because Bart lived his life in a virtual reality simulation, he has no true concept of danger, hence the codename Impulse. He acts impulsively. And so as a result of that, Wally ended up handing Bart over to Max Mercury, the first person, at least in DC's historical continuity, to be able to tap into the Speed Force, and arguably the oldest of all the Flashes, or at least the Speedsters, if you want to call it that. Technically, I think he used the name Windrunner way back when. But the fact remains, right, under the guidance of Max Mercury, Bart, with his powers essentially being reset by Wally so that his body wasn't burning itself out, and he was finally operating as just basically Kid Flash, that he learned what it meant to not be so impulsive, right, to have patience, different things like that. But at the end of the day, he is you or I. If we were a teenager and we got Flash powers, yeah, man, we would be impulsive as hell. And that's why fans love Bart Allen so much, especially when you consider his time on Young Justice. So, with that crash course out of the way, when Max Mercury pulls Bart to the side, he says, you could have been halfway to Andromeda before you even considered whether or not that was a good idea. And of course, Bart's just kind of like, look, right, Irene needs to stretch her legs, Max, and I do too, to be honest with you. And that's where Max just kind of tells him, right, imparting these bits of wisdom to him. He says, Bart, the fastest you will ever run in your life is when you're standing completely still. And I'm with Bart Allen on this one, because what Bart says is he's like, I can't tell if that's wise or just clever, right? And Max is just kind of like, I mean, go ahead, right, shirk my advice all that you want to. And Bart's like, no, I mean, I really can't tell, right, if it's just wise or clever, because I don't even understand what that means, to be honest with you. And so the whole time that Max is talking to Bart, right, he's like, you can't tell because you simply don't have the experience to understand. Bart's not paying any attention to him. Instead, Bart is distracted by the meeting in the Watchtower with Time Trapper Doomsday and everyone else who's being informed of what's going on. And here's the funny thing. As soon as he sees Doomsday, he was like, no, not a chance. Not in my house. And he races off. And then Wally grabs him. And he's like, park it, kid. Right? This is serious stuff. Existence-ending stuff. Why don't you just like try paying attention for once? And so that's where you kind of pick up with both the Justice League Omega special one-shot as well as DC KO #1, right? When everybody's kind of being told about what's going on here. And here's the kicker, right? This is not necessarily like the Superman comic where it's pretty much all dialogue with very little action. No. This has an amazing moment, right? Like where Darkseid humbles Impulse, right? I wasn't lying with that title. It's an amazing moment. So here's the thing, right? At that point, Doomsday just kind of addresses everybody, right? And he says, this is the history of our existence. We've explored every version of this timeline, and it all ends here with Darkseid. And so at that point, Wally's kind of listening to all of this, right? And he says, as Time Trapper and World Forger spoke of what was to come, what was already happening, and what could be done, if anything at all, we listened. The heart of Apocalypse had already been placed by Darkseid at the center of the Earth eons ago, a living essence thriving on Omega energy, answering only to the one who commands that dark power. The King Omega has the ability to rewrite our past, present, and future, reign over all that is. Our last-ditch effort would be a tournament, my best friends and allies duking it out, fighting dirty, perhaps to the death, all to see who might claim the King Omega title before Darkseid can. I could sense their fear, or maybe I was just feeling my own, but I could also feel the resolve in my cousin and daughter, the instinctual desire not to go down without a fight, no matter the odds. And so once this whole explanation is given to them, you basically pick up with only really a handful of the speedsters. Not all of them are here, but you have Jay Garrick, Max Mercury, Wally West, Irene, and Bart. And they're all just kind of asking the question right now. Here's an important little tidbit here. It doesn't seem important, but it will become important later on. Because what happens is that Wally looks back on his own history. He says, for some reason, I remember the second grade. A bully named Travis Piper, my dad Rudy, could be bad enough. But this kid, it felt like a foregone conclusion that Travis Piper would kill me someday. It was the exact cold terror that I felt now. That will become important here in a little while. And so kind of jumping back right to the speedsters, that Wally and Jay and Max, really the most level-headed of everybody who's here because the other two are kids, right? Wally just kind of says, like, I mean, I'll be honest, man, this whole tournament, it kind of feels insane and like desperate, right? But Jay Garrick just sort of chimes in and he says, I mean, it could work, right? We fight Darkseid's way, we find a champion, we might have a shot at actually pulling this off. And of course, Wally's just kind of like, I mean,
but I can see how it's
done. I don't really know how I feel about that. He says, I'm ready to fight, but ever since Wildcat was killed, I've been completely pissed off. And I say we beat the tar out of Darkseid until there's nothing left. Now, as a quick aside, yes, Ted Grant was killed in JSA #6. He was actually killed by Lady Eve and the Injustice Society. It was a pretty significant moment. It was kind of nuts. She like stabbed him through the back with her sword. It was pretty wild. But again,
Yeah, I remember
Jay
that, I
Garrick has
think.
just kind of been pissed off ever since. And even Wally chimes in and he says, even if we have to beat the tar out of each other first, is that really what we're looking at doing? But Max Mercury, right, potentially the wisest of all the speedsters, and certainly one of the most level-headed, just says, then perhaps the more measured approach that Time Trapper spoke of, restarting things in the past. Time Trapper and World Forger said that they were going to slow down time in order to give us a chance. Now, that was one of the things that they were kicking around, and we talked about that in the DCKO video. One of the things they were toying with was the idea of resetting the time stream, and nobody would remember their own past, right? It was quite literally a meta commentary on a reboot. Of course, the superhero seemingly shot all that down, and it's like, we're not going to restart our timeline again. It was kind of DC editorial telling us, hey guys, we know you're tired of reboots, we're not going to do it again.
Right.
Right, but at that point, Wally's just like, but here's the thing, Max, right? More time travel, right? Like, we've already got displaced heroes from every era of history. Did you know Hop Harrigan's sleeping on the floor of Ted Kord's closet? And I never thought I would see a reference to Hop Harrigan. Okay, for those of you guys who don't know, Hop Harrigan is an old school character, right? All-American Comics #1 back in like
I don't even know who he
1939
is.
or something like that. The dude's been around forever. More recently, he was in Brave and the Bold issues 1 through 3. Superman basically received a call for aid from Hop Harrigan. Superman shows up to find out that Hop Harrigan had never aged. It all turned out to be this great big huge scheme by this villain whose name that I can't pronounce. And essentially, Superman was saved by Hop, but then Hop like crashed into the ocean and then everybody forgot about him again. So it was DC teasing the character, right? But the fact is, this guy is like super old school and super obscure. But it's kind of funny here because Wally says, not to mention the time stream is literally on fire. Time Trapper showed me. I saw it. Darkseid is
Literally
violently
on
pulling it
fire.
apart, remaking it in his own image. And so that's where the kids chime in. Now, kids jumping into this isn't necessarily a bad thing, right? I mean, kind of taking a page out of Marvel Comics, if there's any one thing that like the Fantastic Four's Future Foundation showed, is that kids can actually think outside of the box, and they can think about solutions in a way that adults simply can't, right? Divergent thinking, essentially. And so when Iray chimes in and says, if they're slowing down time, we'd be even faster, meaning us specifically. And even Bart says totally, right? With Darkseid basically trapped in molasses, right? We could take down Darkseid on our own in the past, no problem. Because if Time Trapper is slowing time down, then it means if they jump to that moment in the past when Darkseid first showed up in the Justice League Watchtower, Darkseid would be moving at an incredibly slow rate, which would give the Flash family every opportunity and all the time in the world to figure out how to destroy him and bring all this to an end. But Wally looks at this and he's like, no problem, right? Like that's you really think it's gonna be that easy? Right? You really think it's gonna be just go back in time and beat Darkseid? Right? You think it's gonna be that simple? And even Iray says, like, you're the one who's all anti-deathmatch. And Bart says, and remember, I grew up hooked into a 31st century virtual reality thing so that I wouldn't metabolize into a gooey blob of amino acids. And where Wally kind of chastises him a little bit, right? Bart just says, what I'm saying is this. I overrode the difficulty settings on every combat simulation. I maxed them out, man, past the safeguards. It could have killed me, and I still went undefeated. And so Iray just kind of compliments this, and she says, his point is, a slowed down Darkseid should be a cakewalk. Darkseid moving normally, yeah, he would absolutely destroy us. But a slowed down Darkseid, that's no measure of a challenge for anyone in the Flash family at all. And so after some banter back and forth, Wally's just kind of like, all right, look, right, I'm saying that this is not a game. It's not some virtual reality simulation. This requires adult solutions, Bart, real strategies, not the first idea that pops into your head. But as soon as Wally turns around, Bart's gone, man. He's disappeared, right? He just ran off with his own idea into the time stream. And he's like, yeah, man, we're going to go back and we're going to destroy Darkseid. It's the most impulse thing that could be done. And so that's why Wally says, within a picosecond, Bart vibrated through the reinforced bulkhead of the Watchtower into open space, which could have killed him right there. Luckily, he entered the time stream before freezing or asphyxiating to death. He says, I, on the other hand, suffer a moment's hesitation, a lack of focus. And because of that, he's literally thrown out of the time stream. And so he just kind of says, okay, like, I've got to get to Bart before he goes and does something stupid, or at least stupider than he already did. The kicker about this is that Max Mercury doesn't know who Bart is. And Iray has never heard of Bart. And so at that point, Wally's like, oh my God, right? He was like, then I know, right? He's already disrupted time. Who knows how badly? Enough to erase himself that he could already be dead or nothing at all. And so Wally jumps back into the time stream again, this time hyper-focused. And here's the cool thing, right? Because of the fact that DCKO is this great big huge crossover event between the main DC universe and the Absolute universe, DC's using this as a way to introduce people to characters that they've never really heard of before. Hence that little bit of an exposition from Bart about breaking the simulation restraints and all that kind of stuff. And even Wally does that here. He says the time stream is coming apart all around me, infected by Omega energy. And the Speed Force, it's crying out like it's in pain under attack. I catch glimpses of my past, how I idolized the Flash, how I became the Flash, how my whole goal in life was always to become someone else. But was there ever another option? And then he says, I'm lost, I'm going too fast, I'm totally out of control. I cannot catch Bart, and I'm going to lose him. I'm going to lose everything. So it's a one-page splash that's just like a quick shotgun origin of Wally West. But then Wally finally locates Bart and says, there he is. And when he shows up, he finds Bart in the Watchtower when Darkseid first appear, basically trying to enact his plan. And so the two of them are just sitting there looking at the entire situation where everyone is effectively frozen in time. And Wally just kind of says, Darkseid, right? Like we've traveled back in time. This is just before he was destroyed, and then used his own destruction to create the Absolute universe. And so Bart, in looking at all of this, just says it's like ripples in a pond or something, like slowest in the most recent path. This moment has all but completely stopped. To us, microseconds take more than an hour to pass. And so he just says, right, no one can see us. We're moving faster than the speed of light. At this instance, we can trounce Darkseid, right? We can save everybody, everything, and it'll be like we were never even here. And he says, dude, this is our shot. And so Bart does exactly that. He goes in for the attack against Darkseid. It's a chance to save everything, right? Wrong. Darkseid clocks this guy, and he's just like, I am everything. I am my past, present, future. I am all. Did you really think that you could just go back in time and defeat me? My guy. Are you serious right now? Dude, it's amazing because Bart has no clue what hit him. Like Darkseid is moving at regular speed. And that's where Wally is watching everything and is like, Darkseid was waiting for us, right? Specifically for Bart and me. He knew that we were coming. He's somehow always known. And he's faster than we are. And literally Darkseid says, even your Speed Force will soon be mine. And Wally, in watching all of this, just says, I've watched friends be beaten to death in front of me, but never family. So he jumps in and he attacks Darkseid and does what he can. And Darkseid subdues this guy immediately. And he just says, let me show you something, right? Let me help you understand your place in the bigger picture. And let me remind you why I am the living embodiment of entropy and that only a fool would try to bring me to an end. So he just says, let me show you what I am. Feel me reach into your past and into your future. And so literally, he jumps back into their own histories, manipulating their own lives, right? And they both say, then something weird happens, right? And Bart says, I'm back in the 31st century, hooked up to my VR system. And Wally says, I'm back in second grade, and Travis Piper is kicking the living crap out of me. And they both just say, something is wrong. Because in these moments, these glimpses, right, that Wally says, this is new. I do not remember Travis throwing me through a playground structure. And even Bart says, I hacked the difficulty levels of my combat sims, but I don't remember it hurting this much. And Wally says, when I see Travis's eyes, I know who he really is. And Bart says, then I remember who I'm actually fighting. And Darkseid, in forcing them to see all of this, reveals what's going on. He says, I can destroy you when and where I please. At any moment, do you see I am inevitable, finally, right? Literally, he's Gene Hackman from The Quick and the Dead. If you live to see the dawn, it's because I allow it. Dude, it is amazing. It is so dope. This is why I love DCKO, son. And we're not even at the main tournament yet. We're not even at the main battles yet, right? This is all just prologue, right? This is just prelude to the main conflict. And so at that point, we jump back to Bart's whole experience in the VR simulator. And he says, I remember the shutdown codes for my virtual incubation system. Turning it off could kill me, but it looks like that's going to happen anyway. And so he just tells Wally, right? Like, we have to get out of here. If we stay, we die. And so Wally just says, I'm running away. I don't even know where I'm going. He says, deeper into the past, into time, even as it burns up, Omega eating it alive. The Speed Force, it's sick, hurting, but maybe there's another chance to stop Darkseid, maybe somewhere in the past. But then Bart Allen just reemerges in Russia on June 30th, 1908 at 7:17 a.m. And he just starts looking around and he's like, where the hell is Wally? Like, he's just calling for Wally. He can't find Wally anywhere. And then Max Mercury just comes bolting right past him, right? And he just says, out of my way, boy. And at that point, Bart's just like, Max, like, what's going on, right? I'm trying to find Wally. I don't know where Wally is. I don't even know where I am. And Max just says, that Omega Blast was the largest concentration of his energy that I've ever encountered. He holds the truth, and he will bestow it upon me. At long last, my destiny awaits. And he says, emissaries, prophets from the future, reveal to me pure speed. Long have I sojourned. To him and his mighty cadre, I have pledged my total allegiance. And so once Bart catches up to where Max is running to, Max just bows down. And that's when you realize the absolute legion of superheroes is here. Their multiversal conquest is continuing. It's not just now in the main present day where Superboy Prime is being attacked by the Absolute Legion. They're also infecting history because now the past has been changed. Because at that point, Saturn Girl just kind of says, right, the one they call Impulse, our master was dismayed by your sudden retreat. And it's like, but here you are, ripe for the kill. And Max just says, all hail his word, his judgment, all hail the Legion of Darkseid. Darkseid is rewriting time. With that being said, guys, we're going to bring this to an end. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, drop a like. Make sure you guys hit the subscribe button. Thank you all for watching, and I will catch you all later. Peace.
about to start in a second. Hold on, y'all. Alright, let's do it. First I thought my controller wasn't working. Alright, we got chapter 3. We're here. About to lock in. Oh man, I'm excited. I am excited. Alright, let's go. Alright, so take these.
うまく役立ててね。また来てちょうだい。
Need, not greed. Literally. Oop! Okay, I do have new technique skills. Wind run. Square X. Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna need that. A bit close to them.
その技一度練習優秀なことだじゃあな坊主
See you, Salon. Alright, let's go. Nice. Already on it. I did not know there was a hole right there. Okay. Okay, I gotta run up there. Oh, he's dead. Alright, kill him. Cool. Alright. Let's see if we got anything in. Alright, let's go. We already used both of our joints. Good. Got one right there. Wrong one.
ついた
ヤクモ、目標地点は近いわ。私たちも向かっているからそのまま先へ進んで。
了解よ
Do I have enough? I don't even. What's this? Wind path? I don't really need that. Okay, I don't really need that from them, but I'll talk to him. We'll talk to him, but I don't need that right now. Let's talk to him.
黒竜の女王か
ああ 黒竜は何度殺しても蘇る。真なる浄化によって完全消滅すると言われた。
眉唾もんだが、確かに黒竜は死んでないみたいだからな。
ああ、
結構なことだが。さあ、言った言った。新規くせえ話は苦手なんだよ。
了解。
I'm gonna buy one of the
お疲れ様、ヤクモ。うまく役立ててね。
toxins.
海、
So I'm gonna try not to use my elixirs as much as I can. This is a boss fight, but I'm gonna go through the ringer on this
黒
one.
竜の巫女と祠に向かってるわ。今のところ問題ないみたい。
そうか。
今まで美咲にここまで行動してもらうことなかったから心配だったけど、なんとかなってそうで安心したわ。
最初の祠へ向かうぞ。案内を頼む。
ええ。
Oh gosh, fire. Okay. Anything? Nothing? Alright, y'all. Boss battle time. Boss battle time. I'm a little nervous. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm a little nervous. Because, we play on hard. So I don't know. The Damon. Ooh, fire design. Okay.
了解。始末。
Okay. Okay, that's the first time on it. It's fine. It's fine. You gotta figure out first. It's gonna take some time, probably. Probably. Let's see. Got her. Sit down, bitch.
片付いた。祠へ向かう。
Yeah, that's not her final. Can't be. Here she go right here. Sounds like it can't be.
あいつを追う。
This is playing games.
やられましたね。こちらもです。
Oops.
他の道から向かうしかない
This
み
is
たい
playing
ね。
games. Get up. Come on. We can play those games if you want. That's fine. Probably should have used the health joint, but I'm trying to use as little health joints as I can, because like it lowers your rank. You can just gain health by whooping ass.
じゃあ今のうちに封印について説明するわ。黒龍は容器という呪具をより代にして封印している。その容器を引き抜けば封印の解除完了。
ですが容器を引き抜くだけならセオリさんが出向く必要はないのでは。それに誰かに引き抜かれる危険もありますよね。
そう。そこで私がちょっとした術をかけて容器を引き抜けないようにしてある。どう頑張っても私自身が行くか私を無理やり連れてこない限り封印は解けないってわけ。
なるほど。さすがに徹底していますね。
Chest. I'm kind of upset about that. Get cool.
お疲れ様。ヤコ。やるわね。また来てちょうだい。
さていい機会だ。その技優秀なこった。また相手してやる。
Damn it! Shut up, Sayori. Shut up. Shut up. Damn it. Oh, he's just cutting me up. God damn. He's cutting me up. Shit. Ah, it's alright. I gotta buy this again. I don't think it's saved, did it? Okay.
次に会う時
よく来た。任務完了ね。お疲れ様。それじゃあ。
どれどれ。その技、一度自信があるなら何よりだ。次に会う時。
Stupid of me. Whatever. Execution. Okay. I'm not using no heals this one. None. No heals. Because I gotta start being mindful of my heals. I just gotta be nice and lock in. I wanna get better grades. Aged all the most.
完了だ。
There we go. Blood orbs around. Sucks. So now we can go turn in this mission real quick.
What do you need? 任務完了ね。お疲れ様。また来てちょうだい。
Alright. Oh, I think we're really about to fight her this time. Yeah, because of that. Well, I don't even have this. Flip that. Up, down, triangle. Oh, what is that? Siegeable Ripper. Yes. I think we're about to fight the real her.
ありがとう。お疲れ様。
Tyrant can teach you some shit before I go in there.
来たな。
Good team throw, perfect block.
Jiren, 坊主。
Let's go.
到着。僕らはそこの真下よ。
了解。
This is the real boss, huh? This is the real you.
ですから。
問題ない。お前を始末する。
No. Alright. As much as I want to play the game in Japanese, I need to understand the story too. I'm gonna switch it to English. Ah, damn it. Because I didn't want to. But I also want to listen and know the story. So let's go ahead and change that. Excuse me. Alright, so now we've done this. Alright, let's try again. Let's try I don't need to. I can beat her. She's...
お前を始末する。
Ah. Try it again. Try it again.
こいつ何なの。こいつが祠の封印を守るよ。さっきも見たでしょ。それは分かってる。早くも敵は人間じゃない。危なくなったら退避して。ちょっとそれじゃあ私と美咲が危ないでしょ。それにこいつに勝てないようじゃ黒龍には到底太刀打ちできない。伝承通り黒龍を殺すんでしょ。
ヤクモ君なら勝てます。カラス一門の次期棟梁なのですから。
問題ない。お前を始末する。
Ah, thought I blocked it.
ヤクモ君、なんということでしょう。
Man. Alright. This bitch is boxing. This bitch is boxing. Oh man, this game is crazy. This boss is gonna be crazy. I'm already feeling it. Alright. Let's go. Let's go.
こいつ何なの。こいつが祠の封印を守る妖魔。さっきも見たでしょ。それは分かってる。早くも敵は人間じゃない。危なくなったら退避して。ちょっとそれじゃあ私と美咲が危ないでしょ。それにこいつに勝てないようじゃ黒龍には到底太刀打ちできない。伝承通り黒龍を殺すんでしょ。
ヤクモ君なら勝てます。カラス一門の次期棟梁なのですから。
問題ない。お前を始末する。
Missing my cues here.
こいつ何なの。こいつが祠の封印を守る妖魔。さっきも見たでしょ。それは分かってる。 黒龍を殺すんでしょ。
ヤクモ君なら勝てます。カラス一門の次期棟梁なのですから。
問題ない。お前を始末する。終わらせる。見切れるか。
Oh, you bitch! Oh, you bitch. Fuck. Ah. Fuck. Ah! Damn it, bitch. That wasn't the one. Sorry. That wasn't the one. That's okay.
こいつ何なの。こいつが祠の封印を守るような。さっきも見たでしょ。それは分かってる。いやとも敵は人間じゃない。危なくなったら退避して。ちょっとそれじゃあ私と美咲が危ないでしょ。それにこいつに勝てないようじゃ黒龍には到底太刀打ちできない。伝承通り黒龍を殺すんでしょ。
ヤクモ君なら勝てます。カラス一門の次期棟梁なのですから。
問題ない。お前を始末する。逃がさない。そんなもん。終わらせる。
Damn it. Damn it. Damn it. All. Oof, skull.
ちょっとそれじゃあ私と美咲が危ないでしょ。それにこいつに勝てないようじゃ黒龍には到底太刀打ちできない。伝承通り黒龍を殺すんでしょ。
ヤクモくんなら勝てます。カラス一門の次期棟梁なのですから。
問題はお前を始末する。終わらせる。
Bitch, fuck you. You asshole. And guess what? Say goodbye. Bye. Bye. Woo! Bye! Bitch! Through the wall. Through the ground. Weak asshole. What the fuck? No, that's right, Yakumo. Whoop that bitch's ass. After about 6 tries. What is that?
お疲れ様、ヤクモ。
Sayori.
ヨーマの相手、大変だった？あら、冷たいのね。
Oh, it's a weapon. Yes. Is it a weapon for us? What is it? It is a weapon for us. Oh. What? Fire. Fire!
よくできました。あなたのおかげで黒竜の封印が一つ解かれた。これであなたも私と同じ大罪人ね。
全ては使命のためだ。
Fire. 12 items used, 14 deaths. Terrible. Lesser ninja. That was a terrible chapter. Chapter 4. Hold on, y'all. Ooh, new weapon time. New enemies. We'll pause that for a second. Weapon time. Oh, damn! Shit. Oh, yeah. Alright, new weapon. Tosin. Slender sword with a serpentine twisted blade. Serpentine twisted blade designed to not only pierce through its target but also gouge out the surrounding flesh. Switching weapons.
それじゃあ出発。空白神明者ね。奥の本殿に封印があるみたい。
Alright, hold on, I gotta change controllers.
さっき殺したのは妖魔か。
I gotta change
ここは
controllers.
特に妖気が集まる神聖な場所。というわけで、妖魔をお願いね。
坊主。 また相手して。
Right and twister.
Yakumo.
Alright, the goal is to only use 3.
ありがとう。
And one big one.
お疲れ様。
Also some base from take shape of the spiral reaper.
ここにも友人と。
こちらの居場所は筒抜けというわけですね。
ま、だからといって引き下がるわけにはいかないんだけど。え、役も
問題ない始末。
Nice! Fire! Nice, 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 nice! Nice. Woo. Fire. Okay. Hollow thrust. Done. Y'all enjoying the stream on YouTube, make sure y'all come over to Twitch. You can say what's up. We're live on both right now. Live and on Twitch. Right above my head. Go to the yellow on Twitch. Get that box. rock a little bit to it. What's up? Oh! I forgot about it having an ultimate skill. Nice.
気は
ここの妖魔が起こした風ね。まさにあそこの中心部が本殿。ヤクモ、そのまま道なりに進んだら空白神明社の入り口よ。
何？ああ、だが橋がない。
ここは随分と風が強いですからね。さてどうしたものか。
風ね。
ヤクモ、こっちに来て。これを渡しておくわね。突風を利用すれば先に進めるはずよ。
I can fly now.
新しい分かってはいたけど、竜神島にここまで目をつけられるとはね。
あの男相当な手だれだ。
カガチね、軍事部門の長にして竜神島憔悴。戦闘データはないけど、見る限り明らかに一般兵のそれとは違う。ヤクモ、そのうち出くわすかもしれないから警戒して。
ああ、いずれにしても戦いは避けられない。
ユスリカは長時間の滑空を可能にする街灯です。最新のファイバー素材を使って昆虫の羽を分析再現。最軽量最小ながら 200cn までの耐荷重を実現。技術の進歩は胸が躍りますね。
うんちくはいいからさっさと歩く。
First death. Let me use the swords on them. First death, damn it. Got him.
仕留めた。
See it. This way before. Nice. No, I got it. I figured it out. Sorry, y'all. But no, damn it. There's something over there. Am I tripping? let's see what happens. Will I die from this? Yeah, okay, a couple more tries. There's something over there. Unless I'm tripping, but I don't think I am. Okay. Hold on, I got something. Nice. Oh my gosh. Shit. Oh. Like, are you kidding me? Alright, last couple minutes. So I know how to get over there now. Alright, last one. Last one. Alright, I'm done. I don't even know what to do for that. Way to report your mission, though, girl. I'm here reporting for duty.
やるわね。お疲れ様。
Yo, what's up, Urs? How are you, bro? Hope everything's going good with you, bro. We're just getting some Ninja Gaiden in, my man. How's the day been for you, bro? Ready for Kaigaku? Me too. Me too, man. When does he come out? They already showed the trailer for him? So I missed that. I gotta watch that. Really? Oh, I gotta watch the trailer for it. I didn't know that. There's gotta be a trailer out for him. If there is, then I don't know how. That's crazy. Look at that, bro. We fried right now, man. Oh, that was the mission. Thanks. Oh, we came up through there. Okay, my fault. These two guys are, I can love You know it's on Game Pass if you got this. Oh, wow. Oh, wait. I see. Hold on, there's something over here. Wait. Wait, is there something over there, or am I tripping? There's something over there. There's gotta be. This is the last one. Am I tripping? Who's that? Oh, okay. Alright. Whatever. Why do they looking like shit's over there? What about this?
たな。
Let's X to jump off their head.
その技一度俺は優秀なこった。
Look, it's nice like that. Yeah,
じゃあな坊主。よし。
we can talk to him.
山は風が強いな。
Trying to get in touch with my.
心なしか雨もさらに強くなってる気がするな。
一つ目の封印を解いた。その影響だろう。
お、ということは妖魔をやったんだな。やるじゃねえか。なんだその武器。
封印に使われていた武具だ。容器というものらしい。結節忍術も使えるみたいだ。
ほう、そいつはこの先の戦いに役立てられそうだな。俺直伝の結節忍術うまく使えよな。
何が必要？お疲れ様。何が必要？
Where you at? I was trying to say, could.
任務完了ね。お疲れ様。それじゃあ。
My fault, bro. I was trying to get this pizza. I'm about to order this pizza. Granny's gonna pick it up. What's it called? I already know that you're gonna be in the lab day one. I already know. Ain't no doubt about it. Ain't no doubt about it. Rising stance. Fire. And then I gotta go use the bathroom again. I'm not gonna lie. So I'm gonna go use the bathroom, call these pizza dudes, and then we'll get right back into the game. And yeah, I know you ready to cook. I already know you ready to cook. But I gotta use the bathroom and shit. And if you here, you here. But if not, I'll see you later, bro. You stay safe, bro. And take care, alright? I gotta go use the bathroom and shit. And call this pizza dude. So I'll be right back, y'all. And also YouTube, be mindful, y'all coming up on y'all's last hour of Watch Me Play. So soon I will be ending stream, and then we will just be on Twitch. So if you want to see me play more of this game, make sure you come on Twitch. They'll see Diallo on Twitch right now. And I'll be right back. never unplayed the music. What is it? Bit the fuck out of my leg. Bit the absolute fuck out of my leg. Let's get back in it. Let's get back in it. The last couple hits of this. Back. I really bit my lip. That hurt.
この先は行き止まり。ああ、うん、大丈夫。
Okay. Really bit the fuck out of my lip. It hurts. But I'll be alright. I'm a trooper. I'm a G. I'll be fine. Alright, so my wife's ill, I'm not looking good. The medicine she needs is expensive and we can't find anyone who has it. And I just don't be knowing where to find these at sometimes. It's not like there's a map, is there? If there is.
約
No.
その
No, there's no map. It's a linear game. So I just gotta run around and find shit. Which is cool. It's not bad. Alright.
ますね。
了解。 この辺りでノーマンが片付い
ヤクモ近くに像があるでしょ。今から私が祝詞を。今の音何？
た。壊した。
嘘。なんてバチ当たりな。
まあヤクモくんらしいですね。
Should I have waited? Wonder if you can work that out. Not bad. Gotta be greater ninja. See, I told you we're gonna do better that one. We did. Chapter 5.
ここにも敵。Claw. Alright, that's out. Yeah, that's out. Start saving my roaches. Yeah, that's out. Alright. 海、谷に落ちた。どこへ行けばいい？
ヤクモ無事でよかった。位置情報を調べるからひとまず上を目指して。
了解。
私たちは引き続き本殿を目指します。
新しい任務が。任務完了ね。お疲れ様。ヤクモ、かなりの高さから落ちたけど体は平気？
ああ、問題ない。
よかった。それにしても暗い場所ね。なんというか不気味な。
怖くなった？
別に。ヤクモ、セオリ、先へ急いで。
No doubt about it. Those some
どれ
skills.
どれ。念のため自信があるなら何よりだ。また相手。やめろ。来た
I
な。
know you wanted to talk to me too.
海と岬はうまくやってるか？
ああ、岬と黒竜の巫女が最深部にある封印へ向かっている。
おいおい、あいつ一人で巫女と行動って大丈夫かよ。あ、いや、あいつは忍者じゃねえ。どちらかというと頭を使う担当だろう。何かと危なっかしいんだよ。
俺が先にたどり着いて妖魔を倒す手はずだ。問題ない。
だといいがな。
そんなもんだ。逃がさない。静かだ。
この洞窟何か不気味ね。ヤクモ、気をつけてね。幽霊とか出ちゃったりして。変なこと言わないでよ。
Nice. That's all. Gordy. Gordy's are mysterious adorable creatures found throughout the world that you can attempt to catch. Got him. Ooh. Mysterious creatures resemble a gore. They are highly sought after in specific fields of research, perhaps due to their cuddly personality. Maybe I can go back there. First death. Damn it. Oh, I got it. benefit whatsoever.
よし、始めるか。念のためおさらいしておくか。練習はいらねえってか。次に会う。
何が必要？やるわね。それじゃあ。
さていい機会だ。その技試して優秀なこった。じゃあな坊主。
お疲れ様。お疲れ様。
DJ. Delish. So, YouTube. Coming up with your last 30 minutes. And then we'll be live on Twitch for the rest of the night.
Batman Dark Patterns has some of the
Let's see. I don't know. This one is easy. Yeah. What about this?
大したことねえな。どいつもこいつも切り捨ててやるよ。春日、目障りなんだよ。どうした？もう終わりか。
Damn.
これが俺様の力だ。鬼になった俺様のな。オラオラオラ。雷の呼吸、六の刀、連合雷雨。
Alright. That was good. That was good.
I love Dragon Ball Z!
Let's go. Alright.
Oh wow, that was Dragon Ball Z.
Alright. Let's go and get back in the game. Yo, that would be real short.
使いだ。優秀なこった。次に会うときは俺には勝てない。
That was annoying. did I do that for? What was that?
寂れた神社。ここは天狗が祀られていた聖地だったのよ。
詳しいですね。さすがは黒龍の巫女。
そういえば黒龍の巫女って一体何者なの？カラス一門ではあんな伝承の解釈されてなかった。巫女はもともと黒龍を守護する存在だった。黒龍が魔に落ちるまではね。黒龍を初めて封印した時、万が一解かれたとしても再び封印できるよう黒龍の魂を巫女に入れ、代々その魂を継いでいった。それが私たち黒龍の巫女だから、私の中には黒龍の魂が入っている。
先へ行くぞ。
Yeah. Oh, that looks so good. What is that?
寂れた神社。ここは天狗が祀られていた聖地だったのよ。
詳しいですね。さすがは黒龍の巫女。
そういえば黒龍の巫女って一体何者なの？カラス一門ではあんな伝承の解釈されてなかった。巫女はもともと黒龍を守護する存在だった。黒龍が魔に落ちるまではね。黒龍を初めて封印した時、万が一解かれたとしても再び封印できるよう黒龍の魂を巫女に入れ、代々その魂を継いでいった。それが私たち黒龍の巫女だから、私の中には黒龍の魂が入っている。
先へ行くぞ。
dude. So, y'all stay safe. Everybody take care. I'll see y'all next live stream. Make sure y'all come on Twitch. There's more going on with me and the rest of the stream. So, y'all stay safe. Everybody take care. And I will see y'all in the next stream on YouTube. Yeah, make sure y'all come on the Twitch. See y'all right above the hill. I'll see y'all soon. Stay safe and everybody take care. Peace.